What's going on, Toby? Let me know where you're calling from. What's going on, Jared? What's going on, Raven, out there on Facebook? How are you doing? So, welcome to the 411 podcast. We have special guest Jared. He's the host of the Bipolar Bachelor podcast. So, we're going to get him up in just a few minutes. And welcome. It's been an interesting journey just to get here today. But I'm so thankful that I'm here. When I tell you, man, that it's been a journey and I have been tested today, I'm like, "Ugh, I'm finally here. But man, was it, effort just to get here. What's going on, Carol Cordera? How are you doing? Calling all the way from Florida. I bet it's not so sunny today. This weather's crazy. So it's Monday, November 29th. In a couple days, it's going to be December, believe it or not. Crazy, crazy, crazy. We're going to start celebrating my favorite things. I'm going to list my favorite things all the way up until December 25th. We are also getting ready to get into some Christmas music as far as the song of the day. So I'm going to enjoy this hip hop, this R&B, and actually, I think that Mary J. Blige's My Life album, the anniversary is coming around again. But for tonight, we have the game. Don't Worry, featuring the Queen of Hip Hop Soul, Miss Mary J. Blige, off of his documentary album released in 2005, and it's actually his birthday today. So happy birthday, Game. I know, I bet it is cold because it's cold here in Jersey. I can't stand it, man. I really was just absolutely miserable today. Fine everywhere else, but once I had to go outside and I had to endure some BS for a minute and I had to keep running back and forth, running back and forth, running back and forth outside in the cold. Man, I'm done. I got my hot lemon water now, and I'm here. Podcast, podcast time. If you are out there on Facebook, if you're out there on Twitter, YouTube, D Live, or Twitch, drop it in the comments and let me know where you're actually calling from. Carly, what's going on? Carly Louise, out there on TikTok, let me know exactly where you're calling from. So last night we had Mr. Jason T. Davis, all the way from Los Angeles. He comes on from time to time, and he just gives us some good knowledge about Hollywood and his acting career and everything that he does as a journalist. But one thing that he specializes in is really creeping me the hell out. So he speaks about real life situations as far as life situations that were turned into horror movies, just some weird shit in general. He is good at that. So this is about his third time coming on the 411. So if you like to listen to that, watch that replay, and yeah, it was some really crazy stuff he was talking about last night. Shout out to Mr. Jason T. Davis. Also, my brother, Mr. Nate Perry from Brooklyn, New York. Thank you so much for supporting the 411 podcast and everything that we got going on over here. Miss Leah and the beautiful Vibes Bar Royale. Thank you for supporting as well. Fellow podcasters, just different podcasts. Slips Gloss, I love that name. Slips Gloss by Shonda. Switch Thrift Clothing Company. My girl, Miss Rebel Joel. Curvy Dolls Boutique. My friend Ian West. Y'all can go ahead and follow him at Ian West Music on Instagram. And of course, Mr. Trenton, New Jersey, Farrell Higginbotham. Thank you all for supporting the 411 podcast. So, the recap question is, what is the one thing that you're bad at? And when you know you're bad, You are bad at this one thing. So, what is the one thing that you were just, ooh, so bad at, and you know that you're bad at it? Anybody want to tell me that? See what my special guest has to say. Wonder what he's good at being bad at. I know that sounds a little creepy. Let's see what we got going on here.
Hello, this is Jerry.
What's going on, sir? How are you?
I am well, sir. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Welcome to the 411. It's been a long
Thank
time,
you.
long time coming, huh?
Yeah, we've had this plan for a few months now.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for coming on.
Oh,
So,
thanks for having me.
no problem. So now, where are you calling from?
Oh, the city where the good times roll, baby, New Orleans, Louisiana.
Oh, that's what's up. That's what's up. I like that. How's the weather over there?
It's a bit chilly tonight, to be honest. We for winter we get kind of the wet cold with the humidity that we have down here, and it's absolutely miserable. I will
Oh,
take going to Denver in the mountains and snow any day over the kind of cold that we have down here. It's miserable.
yeah, that's crazy.
It is. It's
Who,
nonsense.
whoever would know that that would be the case. So when does this start lightening up?
It just depends. It comes in waves, you know. It's
Mm,
ups and it's downs. Some days it'll be hot. Some days it'll be cold, like tonight. Like tonight was, or today rather, was a really nice day outside. It
mm-hmm.
was, fresh and cool. But then when the sun went down, it got chilly, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it just kind of comes and goes. The weather's crazy down here.
I don't think that I would appreciate that too much.
No, no, you wouldn't. I mean, you could drink till all hours of the night till the sun comes up, and you can walk around with alcohol and whatnot. But
Okay.
I mean, that's about the best thing that we got going down here.
What time? What time do the bars and stuff close?
On Bourbon Street, they don't close.
I knew you were gonna
That's
say that. I knew you were gonna say
yeah,
that. Okay.
yeah. And even still, we have some bars that are open really, really late. Usually 2 or so. I think if the bars in the suburbs will close down. But when you go downtown and you're on Bourbon Street, I mean, those bars they don't ever close.
Mm. Now I want to talk about the food.
Oh,
Mm.
now you hit on a subject that's near and dear to my heart.
I like seafood, so I know that it's great.
Oh yeah, this is the place to come for seafood. I mean, we have so many good seafood restaurants down here in the quarter and Metairie, which is where I actually live.
Mm.
Metarie's about a 10-minute drive from downtown New Orleans. So, I mean, seafood's where it's at down here. You know, we do it up right, and
So
that's what we're known for. You know, all that fresh Gulf seafood that we can bring in. I mean, the char-grilled oysters, we're in oyster season right now. So char-grilled oysters are what's popping. And I mean, let me tell you, I've had some good oysters recently.
I think if I've had it one time, that was it. I haven't really experienced them. So I'm gonna just say that I've
Oh,
never had them really.
well, you'll have to come down here and have them for real.
Now I would like to try the crawfish, but
Oh, yeah. Crawfish season's coming up. That's going to be around Mardi Gras season for us, which is January, February, March, April. And then they kind of start to go out of season in May when summer starts to arrive.
mm,
Um, so there's a short window where you can have good crawfish. Um, and
and
that's when you got to try them. I recommend Captain Sid's. It's right down the street from my apartment. That's where I grew up going. That's where my dad gets all his seafood from. It's the place to go.
and when you guys have crawfish, man, do you have crawfish? I mean, I've seen it on TV, and I'm like, really? Like, I
We
mean,
know how to do it up right down here.
it's like a whole big old bucket.
Oh yeah. They do them by the basket. They boil them and just throw them on the table, cover the table in newspapers, and everybody goes in for a free for all.
Uh,
You don't even sit down. If you sit down, you're not doing it right.
the thing is that they're so small. It probably would like piss me off. I would think.
It's not that bad. It really isn't that bad. If you can be taught how to peel a crawfish, which I can teach you, it's not that bad.
It
It
remind
really isn't.
it reminds me of the. Hopefully, I got the crabs right, but the Dungeness crabs.
Yeah,
The tiny,
Dungeness crab.
the tiny ones that piss you off because you got
Oh
work on
yeah,
them. I need
yeah.
some. I
That's
need some
it.
Alaskan king crabs that I can get
Oh no, those
everything.
are good. Those are real good. Dip them in some butter with lemon. Oh,
So
now
Carol,
you're talking. Yeah, you making me hungry, and I just ate.
Carol says I love oysters, but raw. I think I might have tried it
Oh,
just one time.
you got to try. They do them raw, which they call on the half shell,
Hmm.
and you can do them charbroiled. You can fry them and put them on a po' boy, which is what we call a sandwich down here. Um,
Oh, wait a minute.
you,
That's that.
oh yeah,
I mean,
there's all kind of ways you can do
you had me until you said put it on a sandwich. That
them.
I don't know about that.
I mean, that's my least favorite way to eat them, But a
That
good old oyster po' boy ain't done nothing wrong. I mean, they good too, when you do them right.
um yeah, man, you had me until that sandwich. That really just turned me way
That
off
put
of
a
this.
damper on it, huh?
That's actually that sounds kind of jacked up. Oysters on the sandwich.
Well, that's why you got to do them on the half shell and get them char grilled.
I can't believe they make something like that. Mm.
I know, right?
All right, so question that I have for you before we get on into everything. So, what is
Yeah,
the one thing that you're bad at, and when you know you're bad, you're really bad at it?
dancing. I am really bad at dancing. You put me on the dance floor and I'll make a scene. It's
I
really bad.
I think that's interesting coming from New Orleans. What's up with that?
I know. I don't know. I just didn't get blessed with the rhythm. I mean, I used to be decent when I was younger, and I learned how to ballroom dance and stuff like that when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But I've kind of lost my rhythm as I've gotten older. And they say if you don't practice it, if you don't use it, you lose it.
That is also, yeah, that is
So
so true.
I haven't been dancing enough to keep up with it.
All right, and you've been there all your life?
I have. I'm born and raised here, so I am a true New Orleanian. I was born in Metairie, which, like I told you, is a suburb of New Orleans. It's about 10 minutes away from New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
And I was born and raised here my whole life. I've ventured out, here and there. Done stuff in there. Never settled down anywhere outside of New Orleans yet, but hopefully that'll change. I've got some goals set to get out and experience life in other places of the country or even other places of the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely feel you on that one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now we're going to talk about your podcast, but I really just have to ask this question because when I think of New Orleans, so many people, they get a little freaked out sometimes. You know why they get freaked out, right? No.
But you broke up real quick. What'd you say?
I said when I talk to some people about New Orleans, there are some individuals that get a little freaked out about New Orleans. You want to know what it is?
Yeah, I do. I'm interested. I probably know what it is, but
all right. Well, tell me. What do you think it is?
well, I mean, there's some different aspects of New Orleans. So like voodoo is one of them.
There you go. Bingo. There you go.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So,
yeah.
is it real?
It is definitely a thing. If you go down to the French Quarter, they have a place called Jackson Square, which is the main square that overlooks St. Louis Cathedral. If you've seen The Princess and the Frog, you'll know the St. Louis Cathedral from that movie. And it's obviously been in several other movies, but that's a really notable one from Disney.
Mm-hmm.
And that cathedral looks over to the river and the river walk. And in that square gather all the tarot card readers and even artists, sketch artists and different artists that do that display their work in the square. But a lot of what gathers down there is the fortune tellers and the tarot card readers and all that kind of stuff. The voodoo practicing people, So it is definitely a real element to New Orleans. It's part of the dark side of New Orleans, and it is a main reason why people kind of stay away from those areas or are attracted to them in opposite cases. Some people think it's cool to go have your fortune told and be blessed by a voodoo priestess or whatever. So
have you gone down
yeah,
there?
definitely. What'd you say?
Have you gone down there?
I've been down there. Yeah, I've been down there in that area.
And you've had
I
your
was actually. I haven't had my fortune told. Um, but I was with a friend who wasn't from New Orleans who thought it would be cool to get hers done, and uh, it was an experience. I'll say that.
oh, so what
I
you're
wouldn't
saying is
spend
all
40
hell
bucks
broke.
on it.
You're saying that all hell broke loose later on in that person's life.
Yeah, exactly. She's divorced now, had 3 kids to herself. No, I'm kidding.
I was like, okay, yep, see, that's what happened. No, but um, somebody went
Yeah.
down there and they kept saying, Laren, we got you these little voodoo dolls. And I'm like,
Oh
no.
Lord.
I said, no, thank you. And they kept trying to give them to me. But I never took them. And thank God they stopped asking me about them, but I wanted no parts of it. So now,
Yeah.
when it comes to those dolls and stuff, is that where that person had to go, or they have them all over the place?
No, the person I was with went to a fortune teller, so they didn't really get into the voodoo. Actually, no, I'm lying. I'm now thinking back to the experience. We did go to Marie Laveau's voodoo shop, and they kind of checked things. I didn't go in because I don't like messing with that stuff. I'm like, I'm not gonna know all that. And they went in there and got some souvenirs, got a couple of voodoo dolls or whatever. But I'm like, I'm not mixing with that kind of crap.
I'm so glad I didn't take it, and I'm so glad that he actually stopped asking me to take them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, smart man.
He's like, yeah, I got all of these voodoo dolls for you to, because I used to be in retail. So he's like,
Uh-huh.
whenever your managers piss you off, you can just poke pins in them. And he he said that he got a bunch of voodoo dolls for all of my managers that worked underneath me, and then I to keep them inside my desk.
Oh my god.
And the minute that somebody did something wrong, to handle it, I'm so glad that I didn't take those, and
I'm so glad that you didn't take that.
I'm so glad because the old me is definitely not this nice person that you see here today. So I can
Right?
imagine if I actually had those dolls and somebody pissed me off, it probably wouldn't have been nice at all.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. I got somebody from New Orleans a little
I know, right?
shook up about it. Oh goodness, I needed that laugh. Okay, so the Bipolar Bachelor podcast. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So, wow. Where do I start? It's been a journey for me.
Mhm.
I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder 14 years ago. When I was 18,
Mhm.
and I'm 32 now. And so it was a struggle for me for a long time to find balance. For those of you that don't know, bipolar
Yeah.
disorder is a mood disorder, but it's so much more than that. It's
Mhm.
not like people use the term so loosely, which it doesn't piss me off, but it does upset some people in the community.
Mhm.
When you say, "Oh, this weather's so bipolar," oh my gosh, you're so bipolar. Like,
Mhm.
it's not that simple. It's extreme highs and lows. For me, I have bipolar disorder type 1, which means I struggle more with being manic, which manic means you get into these excessive highs, and it's almost like you're untouchable. You feel invincible. You're making rash decisions, a lot of times risky and sexual and different nature decisions, just very, not making wise decisions. You're spending your money excessively. You're not in control, and that can often go into what the stage above that is psychosis, where you lose touch with reality, and you're hearing and seeing things that aren't there, and you're delusional, and you're psychotic, and it's this disconnect. And then you have the lows, which are depression, and you can even have psychotic episodes in depressive states.
Wow.
And so for 14 years, I've been learning how to manage this mental illness, and it's been a very difficult road for me. I've hit rock bottom multiple times in my life. The most recent being December of 2019, right before the pandemic. I had landed this great job. I was working at the pinnacle of my career, and I started going manic, and they fired me not because I was manic, because I made poor decisions and judgment, two of which cost me my job. And yeah.
So the manic part, what was happening?
So I was just starting to really pick up pace. I wasn't sleeping much.
Okay.
I was dealing with pressured speech, which means I was talking really fast. I was really excited, very emotional, not in control of my emotions. So that's kind of what was starting to take place. And I made two really bad decisions on the job, one on the job, one off the job. But I was at my place of employment when I made that decision, so it affected my job. And they, let me go because of that. And then within a month after that, in December, I was in a hospital. And, then you fast forward a month to January, and right after New Year's, I was back in a hospital again because we couldn't get things right with medication. And at that point, I kind of lost the will to live. And I gave up. I was like, you know what? F it. I'm going to throw caution to the wind, and I'm just going to go for the gusto. If I don't want to live anymore, if I end up dying, then that's what it is. So I indulged in everything. I made horrible, risky decisions in regards to my health, my mental health, all kind of stuff. Just made terrible decisions and got into drugs again, which was something I struggled with in the past. Heroin, cocaine, meth, like all of that in attempt to just try to feel something, And that landed me in another hospital. And February 12th was when I hit rock bottom. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. Something's got to change. And I stayed in that hospital for 12 days until I was right. And when I came out of that hospital, it was like a whole new world opened up. I dealt with the issues that I had never dealt with in my life, that were holding me back, that were keeping me from being who I truly am meant to be. And I started on my path to just being the best version of myself that I can be. And a year later was when I decided to start the podcast called The Bipolar Bachelor. And at first, it was just an attempt for me to share my story and reach just one person, And I started recording the episodes in February. So, like I said, a year later from the time that I hit rock bottom. And so I started recording a couple of episodes to get it started. And, I decided to release them in April. And April 7th released the first episode, the first 4 episodes plus the trailer. And it took off, and it started going viral in a sense. We reached up to 25 countries, including 30-something states in the U.S. So it was just the first episode of me telling my story from diagnosis to today. And it really lets you in on who I am as a person and how I've struggled to maintain myself through dealing with this mental illness. And, then we kind of unpack things from there. And then later on, we got into doing interviews with people who are in the community and advocates and supporters and people who just want to, awaken the world to the struggle that mental health is, because it is a worldwide thing. I've worked with people in Australia, in Ireland, in England, all over the globe, even one in India, so it's just meeting people through this has been a huge thing. And now we ended the season in October with episode 16, and there are still people listening to it today, even though I'm not producing episodes right now. And it's reached over almost 40 countries, and we're in the entire United States. So, it's making a difference.
That's amazing.
Like I said, my goal all along was just to reach one person, and so to supersede that by all of this has just been a huge blessing.
When you are actually telling your truth and you're living in your truth, it comes just so naturally. And that's probably why you have the success that you have, is because people can actually see it and they understand and they know that it's real. It's not scripted. Nobody's, putting on anything. So that's probably why. And I was always told that you should go into doing something just because you love it. Don't go into it looking, for a result or something. So I'm sure that when you
Right.
started that podcast, you weren't like, oh yeah, I want to, get to, you know, 40 different countries and all of this great stuff. You
Yeah.
weren't even thinking like that. You were just going in and
Yeah.
telling your story and, speaking your truth. And
Yeah.
when God put his hands on something,
Ain't no
nobody,
man.
there you go. There you go. Yep. And that's one thing that I have to continue to, tell myself every single day because it's not easy.
Yeah. It's
Definitely not
not. It's
easy.
not easy to do what we do. Like, I mean, you said it perfectly. That was never my goal, was to, be famous or to reach so many countries. Or, like I said, my goal was just to reach one person. And I actually had that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Someone reached out to me with a son who's bipolar. And he just got diagnosed 2 years ago. He's 18 years old. He actually just started college. And they're on episode 6 of my podcast. I invited his parents on, and we talked about their struggle and, just kind of had a conversation. But that was my one person, was that one kid who reached out to me. And I mean, countless of other people have reached out to me before and after that, but it was like, that was my mission getting fulfilled, so it didn't matter if I reached X amount of countries or got so much fame, it's like, that's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this for me, and I'm doing it to reach that one person, and it happened.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? About maybe a year and a half ago, I had somebody pretty much attack me, right? And they started to say, you bipolar this, you depressed that, you're not going to be this, you're not going to be that, blah, 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 blah. So I sat back and I thought about it. And at the time, I was a little disturbed by it because I'm like, listen, if this is reality and somebody is actually suffering for some sort of mental illness, what type of individual would you be to actually attack and tear, bring somebody down?
Right, and brand them and label them like that.
Yeah, yeah. Then I got into the word and I got into it real deep. And then I realized that, everybody suffers from some sort of mental illness.
Yeah.
And you can sit here and try to pretend that you don't. And that's probably one of the worst things that you possibly can do is actually live in denial and act like there's nothing wrong with you. But some of us can handle it other ways by self-care, meditation. Some people get into some deep prayer. They have a routine. They have everything that they have to line them up and keep them in order. Unfortunately, some of us have to go on to some medications and stuff like that. But um, I will share a story with you. I am not an advocate of medication at all. I don't know how you feel about it. I know this is a very touchy subject, but unless you have the good quality care where someone is actually taking the time to diagnose you properly the right way and spend time with you and work with you, um, I don't know if I'm making a bad decision by saying that I'm not 100% for just going on any medication.
I don't think I don't think there's anything wrong with that stance. My personal stance is that I do believe that that medication does have a place in some cases. Not every case. A lot of people can manage without medication, but for me, I know I can't manage without medication.
Okay.
That's the track record that's been proven, because I've tried. And I mean, literally, one time I was at a place where they took me off of my medication, and it sent me into psychosis, straight to psychosis.
So now, when you say that, are you able to share some examples of what that looked like?
Yeah. So it was. I don't want to get too specific with the place and where I was. I was trying out this program where they said you couldn't be on medication for mental illness. They didn't believe in medication, right? And so they took me off the medication, and it was the location was in like a woodsy area. There were like cabins that we stayed in and stuff like that. And I remember remember a lot about it, but what I do remember is all of a sudden I started hearing things that weren't there, voices, and I started like seeing things in the fire, and then I just started to lose it completely. I was non-compliant with everything they asked me to do. They tried to get me to go get I don't remember if it was a vaccine, like a flu shot or something like that, because everybody had to have a flu shot or whatever, and I refused. And so eventually they just kicked me out, and I ended up in a hospital with all my bags, and they sent me off to a mental hospital where they put me back on medication, and within a week I was back to myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, like you said, in some cases it makes sense. But I do know that in some cases there are some people who just write scripts just to be writing them, which I know that's
No, I agree with you.
That's terrible. And the other part that I really don't understand is if this is such one of the number one crisis in the world, why is it so hard to get in and seek help? You have to literally be ready to kill yourself or kill somebody else in order for the doctors to be able to take you in. And it's like, oh no, that's okay. We'll see you in 6 months from now. Well, in 6 months, all hell can break loose. Like it's just mind-boggling to me.
It is. It's unfortunate the state of affairs in which we find ourselves, not only in this country, but as I found out in other countries across the world. Mental health care is a nightmare, and specifically, I'll say even here in Louisiana, mental health is an absolute nightmare. I mean, the hospitals that I've been in, the treatment that I've received, or the lack of treatment that I've received, I mean, it's terrible. And I think that's also part of the reason why I started the Bipolar Bachelor, was to get the conversation going about mental health and the importance of raising awareness for it, and us needing to change things as a culture. It starts with one person. As big as our country is, one person can make a big difference, and it can start a movement, So that's one of the larger goals of the podcast, is to just raise awareness and get the conversation started about helping to strike out the stigma against mental illness, and raise awareness about mental health and the need for better health care for those who struggle with, these disorders and these illnesses.
I totally agree. So your podcast, you said you're done the first season. So when are you starting up again?
I'm thinking after the new year. I'm going to take this next month to just kind of get myself back into gear. My personal life is kind of taking a turn. Work has just been overwhelming, and I haven't been able to spend much time being creative and planning as I'd like to. So I'm hoping that'll take a turn, and we can get back to getting the podcast back on air.
You absolutely have to, because that's another thing that will actually trigger some mental issues. And I'm just speaking for myself, is when you just work, and you don't have the opportunity to tap into your creative side. For me, anyway, I can become very resentful.
I found that's kind of how I've become. I've become a negative person. I get really bitter and really angry easily. And that's not who I am by nature. I'm a very gregarious, outgoing person, and I'm very creative, by nature. And I feel like I need to just, regardless of what happens with work, if we don't slow down, if we pick back up, I need to get back to the podcast. And a lot of people have been telling me, that it's been a good thing for me. And it was a really good thing. I mean, part of the struggle, another reason why I wasn't doing the podcast for fame was because I actually ended up having a struggle through mania and psychosis. from April to July while I was recording episodes for the podcast, and it was blatantly obvious in some episodes that I wasn't well, and I purposefully published those episodes because I wanted to get the message across that it's okay not to be okay, and you're not going to this isn't the type of podcast where you're going to hear these perfectly scripted versions of me every single time. So you're going to see me when I'm struggling through a manic episode and I can't control myself and my language is all over the place. And, you're going to see me when I'm doing well and I can have normal conversations with a guest or whatever. But the middle part of the podcast in this first season was a struggle because I've never let myself be that open with anybody, much less a worldwide audience.
It's funny that you said that. I probably don't want to go back and watch some of my shows in the earlier time when I first started because I know that was a trip. But it's very interesting that you say that because the minute that I don't press play, I'm very curious as to where I would actually be at from a mental standpoint because this was actually part of my therapy as well when I hit rock bottom. So I never thought that I could get to the lowest point, but I did. And I picked up this podcast and started to run with it. And there was a shift and there was a change and people started to reach out and they started to say, hey, this was great. Keep going. This, that, the next, the other. But I often wonder if I put this down, I don't want to think about the depression that I was in before I started this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, interesting. So some people don't know that that's part of the therapy. It's part of the process. Hey.
Yeah, I don't think I would have made it through the manic and psychotic episodes I had from April to July without the podcast, to be honest. I think I would have ended up in a hospital, and that's been the goal of my team. I have a team now that I work with who takes care of me through doctors and nurses and social workers, and they're all a very vital part of my life, and they have been since really December of 2019 when I got admitted to that hospital and then came out of it in February. They've been with me through that whole walk, and their goal is to keep me out of a hospital. So I don't think without the help of my team and the podcast, I don't know that I think I'd still be struggling through mania and psychosis today. I wouldn't be back to a balanced sense of self.
Wow. Interesting story. I mean, you said some mind-boggling things tonight. I mean, the fact that you overcome drug addiction is amazing. Not just one, not just two. Like you listed some pretty heavy hitters there. And some people can't bounce back from not even dealing with one. So congratulations on that. Staying sober, staying clean, doing a podcast. That's amazing. You're helping so many different people. And just keep on doing it. Keep on going. There's so many people out there that need you, and may just only be one person today. And as long as you get through to one person each and every time you record your episodes, that's all that matters.
That's right.
Yeah. Wow.
Right.
So let everybody know where we can follow you at. I know you're on Instagram. Take us through that. Let us know if you're on anything else and where we can listen to your podcast.
Absolutely. So as far as keeping in touch with me, Instagram is the best place to go. It's at the Bipolar Bachelor podcast. I know it's a long handle, but it flows. So follow me there. I post pretty regularly, usually every couple days or so right now, to kind of just keep people engaged in this time that I'm on hiatus from the podcast. And that will definitely be where I post updates as we get closer to going to season 2. But I'm also on Facebook at same thing, the Bipolar Bachelor podcast. You can follow my personal page, Jared Madison Fry. Also on YouTube, Jared Madison Fry, and then TikTok is the Bipolar Bachelor Pod. And to listen to the podcast, we're all over Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, pretty much wherever you can download your podcast. I use Anchor, which is a platform that spreads the podcast through all the different platforms. So if you want to listen to it on there, wherever you want to listen to it, you can find us. But the main two I know are Spotify and Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts rather. So go check us out, leave us a review. We appreciate it.
Very good, very good. Mr. Jared Fry. Did anybody say Frey? I know it's Fry.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. It's always Frey. Nobody ever gets it right. So that's why I have to set it out there. But it's actually British. So the last name Fry comes from England, where our ancestors were. So
Now I have one question too. I know
yeah.
Louisiana, New Orleans, been through some ups and downs. We talked about the weather, hurricanes, everything. It's craziness, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Question that I have, because I've never been able to ask anybody, but I'm so glad that I'm able to ask this tonight. What makes you stay? Because I just want to know, because let me tell you, the first time that happened to me, I'm the hell out of there.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Because I know what's going on. So what makes people stay? I don't get it.
So it's home. That's my answer, is that it's home. And what I mean by home is there's community here.
Mm-hmm.
Family, you don't move out of New Orleans. If you're truly from New Orleans, your family's here.
Mm-hmm.
And generations upon generations are here. All your stuff is here, your house, your job, everything. And that's what makes people stay, is the community, the resilience, the bonds that we have go deeper than any bonds that you'll ever come across in your life. And that's what makes New Orleans resilient. After Hurricane Katrina, after Hurricane Ida that we just experienced this past summer,
mm-hmm.
People, I'm in my line of work, I'm dealing with people that are affected by this storm still. They're having to, redo their houses.
That's what
come to us.
Yeah.
So it's people, that's never a thought. If they're truly from here, that's never a thought in their minds. All the people I've come across, they're like, how can we rebuild? How can we come back from this? And they have people around them that rally around them and support them, So that's my answer to that question, is it's home. That's why I stay. Me personally, we kind of talked about this earlier. I'm going to probably look to get out of here in the near future, just because I want to experience what else the world has to offer. But there's one place that I know I can always call home, and that's New Orleans.
I give everybody credit for that. It's like once they get done rebuilding from the one, here comes another. And the reason why I say here comes another is because it takes years. It happened 2-3 years ago, but we're still dealing with the aftermath behind them. When we finally get on our feet, here's something else is coming down the pike. So I just don't understand. But maybe it's not for me to understand it.
Maybe not.
It's all that good food and all that good music. People are like,
they can't get away from it.
Just gotta have it. So now I want to go ahead and flip this and get on into burning questions. And this is a segment of the show where I basically flip it and I put my guest in a hot seat. But tonight we're really not going to put you in a hot seat. I want to read something from someone who wrote in. Since we were talking about the mental health awareness, we just want to stay on that. So somebody wrote in, says that they are socially awkward and they don't fit in with the crowd in their current environment. Is there any advice that we can give them?
My advice, if you don't fit in with the crowd that you're in or that you're surrounded by, do whatever you can to find your crowd. And then when you find your crowd, immerse yourself in them and let them be your people. let them be your cheerleaders. You be their cheerleader. You know, that's my best advice for that, because I don't know what it's like to be socially awkward, but I can relate to that in a way, because I've had friends who struggle like that, and I've had to be the welcoming committee for them into our group or whatever. But that's what I'm saying to you tonight is find your crowd, find your group.
I can tell you what it's like to be socially awkward. So, because for so many years, I think I've struggled with this very
Yeah.
well. So, you go into a environment and you're not the first person to say anything. You're very quiet, you're reserved. Somebody's staring at you, you're staring at them, and you're feeling a little uneasy. You're not going to say anything. And they're looking at you like something's wrong with you, and you're looking at them like something's wrong with them.
Mhm.
And it's just a bad situation. Or when you finally do get the opportunity to speak and say something, you get so worked up with anxiety and everything else that you end up stumbling over your words or saying something, you know, I say incorrect and people laugh when I say that, but saying something, incorrect, but that's probably what it's like. You're not the life of the party. You're not the person that's going to run in there and start, you know, being all crazy,
Right.
making everybody laugh. I mean, we can join in on the laughs, but to be somebody that's going to run in there and be like, "Hey, it's me. I'm here. I'm the life of the party." Yeah, probably not.
Right.
Now, that's my only advice that I have when it comes to what it's like to be socially awkward. My thing is that, hey, if you don't fit in with the crowd, then it's time to leave. And I know you said go ahead and find a crowd, but my thing is I wouldn't say necessarily go ahead and find a crowd. Let the crowd find you.
That's good.
Stay in your own lane. Worry about you. Focus on you,
Yeah.
and don't worry about trying to impress anybody. Don't worry about trying to be the life of the party. Don't worry about trying to be like him or her, because you can't be. That's the difference. That's when we start to get tripped up into so many different situations, when we compare
Right.
ourselves to other people and we try to be like them. Oh, well, this person made them, the whole room laugh, so I got to go on and I got to do the same thing. Or this person said this, so I have to do this. Or this person wore this, so I got to go ahead and compete and do the same thing. When you start doing that kind of stuff, you set yourself up for failure, and it's going to create more anxiety. It's going to create more issues because you're not being authentic and true to who you are.
Right.
So,
Live original.
yeah, that's my advice.
I hear you. Good advice.
So, what else you got for us tonight here? What else you want to leave us with? I know you got something.
Well, I'm really grateful for the opportunity to come on your podcast and just kind of get to know you a little bit. And I've been watching you for months now. Every time you go live, I kind of jump on here and there and watch what you do, and I think it's great. I absolutely love it. I'm grateful for the opportunity to come on and share a little bit about the Bipolar Bachelor podcast and just my life. And thank you for allowing me on your show to just share.
That is
life.
Amazing. That is so amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Amazing. All right, sir. Well, it has been amazing, and hopefully we will cross paths in the future. I don't know if I'm going to be in New Orleans, but if I do, I will hit you up and be like, all right, so what areas do I stay away from? Because I don't want to get crossed up into no nonsense like that.
Yeah, don't go anywhere near Jackson Square, and only go down Bourbon Street if you plan on getting. They say, what did they say about it? I got bourbon faced on shit street.
Oh, that sounds real crazy to me. Mm.
Yeah. So, but no, definitely. Please hit me up if you ever come down to New Orleans, and I'll show you a good time. We'll not venture into those dark places.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Absolutely, Lauren. I appreciate you. You have a great night. All right.
You too. Take care now.
All right. Bye bye.
All right, y'all. There you have it. The Bipolar Bachelor. Wow. It's been a journey today, man. And that was just a great conversation. And I really do appreciate that because I'm telling you, man, it was a trip to get here tonight. I don't know what happened. I fell into all types of booby traps today. I'm like, what is going on? And I'm so thankful to be here. So, a very special shout out to everybody out there watching, people who come in the next day and watch the replay. Definitely do appreciate you as well. If you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, YouTube, D Live, Twitch, I just want to say thank you so much for joining in. I appreciate you. Now, if you'd like to support the 411 podcast or Reading Between the Wines, go ahead and click that link above and go into My Inspirations, Volume 1. And, support a brother if you can. I have a book which is $9.99, and it's going to take you on a musical journey through scriptures, themes, quotes, and have some questions that will help get your mind elevated. Trust and believe. There's something in there for everybody. And if you already have that and you want to take it to a step further, which I would be greatly appreciative of that, you can go ahead and text Remix to 609 738 0611. That is Remix, keyword Remix. Text it to 609 738 0611. And you can actually get my new book that is coming out soon. You can get the pre order for volume 1.5. So this is a remix journal that will basically help keep you on a track. First, we're going to learn how to get with ourselves and understand the process and get some peace, get some quiet, get some clarity in our mind because we've been all messed up before then. I'm just giving you my life story. So, and then after that, once you figure out what the problem is and you dissect it and you understand, now you need a journal to help you write down your daily goals and affirmations and just things that are going to help keep you on track. I'm sharing some stuff with you about the past, and then we're going to talk about the present, and then I want you to write about your future. So as past, I'm sharing the issues that I had. I'm letting you know where I'm at right now here today, and then I leave it up to you to share your future, where you see yourself at. A 30-day transformational journey towards a healthier mindset. Text the keyword remix to 609 738 0611, and you can go ahead and get yourself a copy of that book before anybody else does. So now, this Saturday, I'll be doing a virtual book signing with Karma's Paradise at 1 p.m. You have another opportunity to go ahead and thank you so much. Have another opportunity to go ahead and get an autograph signed along with a poster. You can get a t-shirt, all of that good stuff. This Saturday at Karma's Paradise, 1 p.m., virtual book signing. You'll be able to get volume 1.5 before anybody else gets it, and you'll get a different version because it'll be autographed along with a poster, and you can get you a t-shirt as well. So thankful for my sister Kay Cole from Karma's Paradise for allowing me to have this opportunity. Wow, crazy, but it's almost here. Can y'all believe that next week is going to be December? No, this week. Hell yeah, this week is going to be December. I keep saying next week because I was thinking about what I was saying last week. But yeah, it's going to be December this week. Crazy. I want to thank my executive producer, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, for allowing me to come out here and give y'all the 411 podcast one more time in life. Without him, none of this would be possible. I wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here. And I just have to say thank you. And I have to say thank you. And I have to say thank you time and time and time again, because I know that this whole situation, what I'm in right now, is way bigger than me. I ain't create this. I didn't start this. So I know who I have to go ahead and give my thanks to. My executive producer. Thank you. Tomorrow, we have Kate Moeller coming in, another podcaster. This is like podcast week. reaching out to fellow podcasters, and we having a good time. So Miss Lee Dennis says, I hope to get Cash App. I try to donate, but I struggle. You try to donate, but you struggle. What do you mean you struggle with the actual process? Or you struggle with, what does that mean? Jennifer Green out there on TikTok. If you're still out there, let me know where you're calling from. Sometimes I can't see if people are out there, and it looks like you're out there, but then you're not. And then sometimes when it looks like you're there, you're not out there. I have no idea. Especially on TikTok, I can't tell. People on Facebook, I can't tell. So if you think that I'm ignoring you on Facebook, I am not ignoring you. I see all of the comments and I see everything after the show is done for some reason. I don't know what's going on. So if you'd like to donate, one of the best things that you can do if you really want to donate and help support is purchase one of my books or purchase something from the Black Diamond Shop. That's one of the easiest ways to do it. It's just by purchasing because you're going to get something out of it. And yes, I'll get, you know, a portion of it as well. But the most important thing is that you get something out of it. So I love to give back to people. And this is my way of giving back by opening up, and writing books and things like that, sharing my story with you. We both went out of that situation. And guess what? If you read the book and you're done with the book, the best thing that you can possibly do is just go ahead and pass on the book to somebody else who could use it. That's one of the biggest things that I love when it comes to my books. It's like the gift that never stops giving because if you teach that and the next person that you give it to and you say, and when you're done, you go ahead and pass it on and pass it on and pass it on. A book is so powerful and you never know how many lives you can touch by just one purchase. So that's what I say about that. But there also is another way. If you click that link above all of my social media platforms as well, there is a donate button as well. You can click on that and you can donate that way as well. So several couple ways you can do that. But like I said, the easiest way is to purchase a book because then once you're done, you can go ahead and pass that on to the next person and then so forth and so on. What's going on, Carol? Thank you so much for supporting as well. I appreciate you. And on that note, I will see you all tomorrow, 10 p.m. Like I said, I'm so thankful I made it here today because it was definitely one of those days. But as soon as I am done here tonight, it's going to be one of those. Because, man, it was such a struggle to get here. But thank you all for hanging in there with us tonight. Talk to you tomorrow, 10 p.m. Kate Moeller is going to be in the building. All right, y'all. See you. Good night. Good night, y'all.